So how about the first 10 minutes of this fucking thing, right? Just get out of there.
It feels like once a year you try and convince me that these movies are somehow worth watching, and every time it never
Yeah.
goes over well, and I don't know why you continue trying to beat your head up
Okay,
against
first of
this
all,
brick
Dracula
wall that you.
1930 Spanish Dracula 1931 was good. But so that's just that thing. Also, you were the one who wanted to watch The Wolfman. I want to be clear about this. And I said I wanted to do a movie from the 1940s, and you said, "Oh well, we'll do The Wolfman then." So this was your idea.
Well, no, because you still put the stipulation in there. Like this is probably the lesser of like 40 different evils. Like
I don't. Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know what this movie like. Surely they must have knew this was like weird when they were doing this, right? Like this couldn't have just been something like like okay, so of their time, sure, but they must have known better. Like they must have known better than to like they must have known that like staring it in through somebody's window and then coming down and telling that woman, "Hey, why don't you put on the earrings I saw you wearing while I was spying on you in your room?" Surely that would have been a weird thing in any decade, right? This isn't like
yeah.
surely the so-called greatest generation wasn't this deluded. So yeah, this week, this is Kyle and Cody's Cults from the Cast. I'm Kyle, that's Cody, and we're reviewing the Lon Chaney Jr. 1941 The Wolfman, the original Wolfman movie. So yeah, that's what we're doing about. And the first 10 minutes of this movie is just like this puts people think the 80s movies are like in a like don't age well. This is like I don't think this age like sure like I'm surprised I haven't heard about this. Like I watched like I watched like an entire like video essay about like the Lon Chaney Wolfman movies, and this entire beginning section is never like brought up. They never bring up this movie's basically about like fucking this Welsh monarch like covering up that his son's a serial killer. Like that is never brought up. Like that this is like such an obvious like text to the movie that like every like well-to-do gentleman in this movie just like decides that yeah no we're gonna cover up this murder because the guy who committed the murder is like of high birth and we need to like preserve his integrity so that we can put him into a position of civil authority. That's the entire plot of this movie.
Wasn't that also like one of the bases of Jack the Ripper theory was like the reason why that Jack the Ripper was never caught is because it was a giant cover up by like the British monarch because the person doing all the killings was like I don't know Duke or one of the princes of Britain, I do believe. I'm pretty sure like that was the basis of Alan Moore's From Hell.
That is the basis of that movie. It's not like none of like they never confirmed who Jack the Ripper is. And there's honestly probably a few guys that probably got caught up in that. There's like a whole like there's like 4 or 5 people that were like confirmed to be of like the guy who was Jack the Ripper killed them. But they've never actually found the guy, and that's just one of the rumors floating around. Could be true. I mean, like something to that effect anyway. I don't know like exactly what he said, yeah, but something to that effect could be true. I don't know.
Was the guy with the shawl that came out a couple of years back who's like, we found like empirical evidence that Jack the Ripper was this guy. And then basically the person they got the shawl of one of the murder victims, did the DNA evidence. One of the people had like a rare genetic condition that if found, this was like empirically like without a doubt who the Jack the Ripper was, except for the lab technician who did the like DNA results, like input the DNA test marker in wrong, and like it went from oh yeah, this guy is definitely Jack the Ripper down to like 1 million people are still technically could have been Jack the Ripper. So, and he like this was this guy's whole like life research, and like it just like came crumbling down in like 30 minutes. And yeah, I don't know what happened to the guy ever after that, but it's still
Yeah, this is like I am shocked. Like I have never seen like more people talk about that interpretation in the movie. Like maybe it's just I haven't looked, but that seems like it'd be like a video essay somewhere or something. That like the real horror of this movie is that like it's a bunch of nobles covering up like that their son, that the son is like a psychopathic murderer. It's nope. No one talks about it.
yeah, but like the whole entire movie is summed up within the first like 10 minutes, in my
Yeah.
opinion, when they're like, what is lycanthropy? It's this Greek mythology's like idea about like the duality of man. And like you could have just rolled credits there at that point in time, because like basically you summed up the whole entire premise of the movie within like 3 minutes, or like a, I don't know, 5 minute conversation at best. They kind of draw on at that point, but
The movie is only 70 minutes long, so it's not like terribly long to watch. And like if I heard like some other like interpretations of this movie, and like a lot of I think a lot of it gets caught up in some of the background of this is like the actor in this, Lon Chaney Jr., credited in this as Lon Chaney, which must have confused some 1940s person at the time because Lon Chaney Sr. is like a silent movie star who is also big in horror. I think he was like a Jekyll, and he was one of the Dr. Hydes. I think is one of his big claims to fame.
yeah, but like, did he die or something?
No, I mean, yeah, but yeah, Lon Chaney Sr. was a silent movie star who was a big horror icon in his own right. So this is like Lon Chaney Jr.'s horror debut, and a lot of this is like a lot of people get caught up in like, oh, this is like there's also a lot of talk in this movie about Lon Chaney, like Lon Chaney's and like Lon Chaney's Jr.'s character Larry. A lot of his story is about like him inheriting like his father's stuff, and I think a lot of people get caught up in that because it's like, oh, that's cute. It's like he's picking up the torch from his father who was also a horror icon, and also like Lon Chaney Sr. was a bit of a not great guy. Lon Chaney Sr. Went on like him and his Lon Chaney Jr.'s mother got divorced at one point. Normal enough there. And then yeah, so they get divorced, and I'm not sure what age he Junior was when this happened, but Lon Chaney Senior essentially like drove off his then ex-wife and told Junior that she had died, and then Lon Chaney Jr. didn't find out until like years later. So that
That
was
is awful.
yeah, and this is like this would have been like 1920 or something. Like that would have been like a fucking like, that sounds like a well that sounds like a plot to a movie on its own right. But I think a lot of people like do a lot of reading into it as like that because there's like this career passing of the torch too. But yeah, I don't know. It's not. It didn't. It got drowned out to me in this other thing of like noble corruption and like covering up for like high profile figures plot that's like going on throughout the movie. And also like the terrible, 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 terrible romance that they have in it. Like that is just the weak, like among the worst. Like I thought the Fast and the Furious one was bad, but this is way worse. Cause like objectively, this is just like I just if there's just no excuse for his behavior. I think we'll get into the plot just so we can like better explain what we're getting onto here, because it's a whole bit of can of worms there. Um, So a weird thing about when you rent this on YouTube, which God, I can't believe I'm renting a movie from 40 years ago. It should just be free somewhere. Or like from 80 years ago. It should just be free somewhere. God, just ridiculous. I don't want anyone to be paying for my stuff like 80 years after it's released. I think that's just the common decency, frankly.
Well, I mean, somebody had to keep up the rights at that point in time, correct? Like Universal probably still owns the rights to
Oh
the
yeah, they
book, or
absolutely
at
do.
least a
Yeah.
franchise to the movie.
It's like it's always weird. Like I think they also extended like how long those things last in this were in the United States. So that's another thing. But it's just I don't know. It just feels like I should
Wasn't
be able to
there?
get movies from the 40s for free. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, so there was a remake of it in 2010
I'm
with
sure they would
Hugo
have.
Weaving's
Yeah.
Emily Blunt and Anthony Hopkins.
Hmm.
Why didn't we watch this one?
I mean, eventually we could maybe. I don't know. I didn't hear it was. I didn't hear it was very good.
Box office bomb, grossing 142 million dollars against a production value of 150 million.
But that could be a thing. I kind of want to do if we're doing something in that vein. I kind of want to do the Victor Frankenstein movie from around that same time because that was sort of good. Ending wasn't great, but it was sort of good. It has like James McAvoy and Daniel Radcliffe in it.
I could, yeah. Sorry, I was just looking at the poster from this 2010 remake, and it totally reminds me of Wolf Cop, and that's kind of that might be why it failed so badly because
Yeah.
apparently this won the Academy Award for Best Makeup in at the 83rd Academy Award for the work.
Yeah, no, this isn't great. I don't know. The werewolf makeup is always hit or miss. This is pretty probably this is sort of this makeup's not the greatest. It's maybe they're trying to bite off more than they can chew. I feel like when we get to the werewolf bit, it's just I mean, especially by modern standards. But I think even I don't know, it's not there's not much to it. It's also like I think this is maybe just barely into the age of like rubber masks. So yeah, and it's certainly he certainly doesn't look as good as something like the Frankensteins of this era or I think even like the interesting visual effects that go along with like the Invisible Man. Anyway,
Well,
on
I
the
mean,
YouTube, my point was what I was getting at was it on the YouTube rental of this. They show both Universal logos for some reason. Like they show like the one that comes from like the DVD release of this that they ripped this from, and then also like they show the 1940s one, and I just thought that was weird and redundant.
I was gonna say it's like such a like you problem that like
Yeah,
I
fair enough.
just fast forward through every form of like, and I mean like arguably this was like better to fast forward through because they had the whole um like actor
Yeah,
introduction over music and like showing the cast and stuff like that for like the first like 3 minutes that I was able to just be like, okay, I can skip through this without like missing anything super important.
yeah, it's a whole thing.
Um, yeah, that's all I've got.
So yeah, this our movie opens to the greatest horror of all, knowledge. As it opens to like a bunch of encyclopedias after they give us like a big boring title crawl with all the lead like they list like seven characters and like three like I guess they were big names in like 41 or something. They credit like they have like Dr. Lloyd, Colonel Montford, and Frank Andrews in like the opening crawl, and it like listed before even Bella Lugosi and both the female characters who are like central to the plot. They throw in the names of like three redundant male characters for whatever reason. It's so like how are these guys getting upper like higher billing? Anyway, we open to a bunch of encyclopedias. Knowledge, greatest horror of all. Yada yada yada. And then they open up the encyclopedia, I don't know, whatever. Did they have the DSM in 1941? I don't know.
What is the DSM?
It's the list. It's like the big psychological conditions list for like psychologists.
Probably not.
Yeah, it might be pre that because I think there's 5 right now, or like 5 volumes. I mean, not like 5 books, but I can't remember if yeah, this might be pre DSM. I'm not sure about my history of psychology.
That's all I know is like Freud is dead at this point in time, but I don't know how long his
Wait,
methods stuck around
I
within
feel
the
like his meth. When does Freud die? Is Freud dead in
uh
41? I don't think he's dead.
yeah, I think he died 1939, so he's been dead for 2 years.
Oh, oh yeah, so just barely dead though. Okay, so I'm not crazy here. Okay,
Well, I mean, dead's still dead. Like,
yeah, but like 2 years, oh, for 2 years. But yeah, no, they're absolutely using Freud stuff in this day and age. Might as well, while we're at this, and while I have the Google open. Yeah, okay, so DSM means Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Or yeah, so it's just the first 3 letters of it. What was the first DSM? Okay, yeah, the first DSM is not till 1952. So yeah, this is pre that, which explains why lycanthropy's in the book. It defines lycanthropy as a psychosis where a guy thinks he's a beast based on like the myths of like local folklores, and it lists out that there's one incident that takes place around Talbot Castle. No indication about where Talbot Castle is. It's in Wales. It's a Welsh castle, I guess, within the fiction of the universe. I don't know that's real, but yeah, this movie takes place in Wales, actually, at this place called Talbot Castle, and we're introduced to our main character, Larry Talbot, who is coming home from being in the United States for almost 20 years, doing mechanics and like telescope maintenance, I guess, or mirror lenses, optometry, maybe. I don't know if it's explained entirely, but he's here to go meet with his dad, Sir John Talbot, played by Claude Rains. So yeah, this guy's literally like a Welsh nobleman or like an English nobleman ruling over Welsh territory, one of the two. I'm not sure how all that works, to be honest. But anyway, so he's going up to meet his dad there and essentially take over the family. I hesitate to call it business, but essentially Larry is going to he's coming back home so he can get trained to do I actually don't know what they do. I just be an authoritarian parasite. I don't know. Like I don't know. Is there another word for this? Like what is the word for like someone like he's learning to be a nobleman of some sort?
yeah, which is kind of weird because isn't that just like basically instilled upon you as like a kid, like growing up as a noble person with an
It is explained why he wasn't here this whole time is because he's actually the younger of the sons. And his older Larry's older brother John Jr., I guess, passed away in like a hunting accident. So he's coming home because now he's in charge of like inheriting all this.
yeah. I feel like a lot of like firstborn sons of noblemen definitely died in like way too many hunting accidents for it to be not suspicious, I guess.
Yeah, that's not dwelled upon, and there's no. It's just a thing that happens in the backstory. But yeah, so he's coming home to do that whole thing, and they have a little bit of a chat. He's just yeah, I'm sorry I missed. I wasn't there when John died. Yada yada yada. And as they're talking about this, the guy's butlers bring in a package. It's parts for a big telescope, which they go take upstairs, and Larry helps his dad install. So they set up this telescope, Yeah, and so yeah, they set up the telescope, and and eventually Sir John is just like, yeah, I'm gonna go do some things. You finish up here. You did a good job with it, whatnot. Yeah, yada yada yada. This is where the movie gets bonkers. Larry is playing with the telescope, and this is like a huge fucking telescope. It's 10 feet long, probably. And he decides to use this telescope to spy on the neighborhood. This is way too big a telescope for that. Like this thing could like pick out craters on the moon. Probably you're not going to be able to tell what's like happening across the street. Like these guys do not know how telescopes work. That's so weird. I guess not everyone knew how they worked in 1941? Question mark. But yeah, so as he's like spying on the neighborhood, he sees a pretty girl through her open window, and he's just like, "Oh, she's pretty. And she works at the antique shop across the road. I'm gonna go say hi." Okay. That's okay. Okay, granted, you did this much by accident. You didn't purposely point the thing liberally in her window, even though you did like stare at her for like a good 60 seconds. Although that could just be protected if you just didn't act any weirder like after this moment. He proceeds to go across the street to this antique dealer, and he talks to her, and he's just like, I need a gift. I'd like to see some earrings. And he's like, oh, well, here's some earrings. And he's like, no, those won't do. I'm looking for something with like crescent moons on them. And she's just like, oh, well, we don't have anything like that. And he's like, well, what about the ones upstairs on your dresser? And at this point, this is the point in the movie where you realize, like, oh God, this is horrific. This is like, how did they not know better? Oh God, what am I watching? And she's just like, she sears picks up on what this guy's saying, and she's just like, Dad, Dad, come on, come here. And so she gets it in her head, so that he's just like, no, wait, you don't understand. I'm psychic, he says jokingly, as if any realistic scenario is at all. Yeah, no, this is just he's just being super super creepy. And then this whole thing revolves in him like switching to like, oh well, I guess maybe I'll get a cane. And then he eventually buys like a cane with like a silver wolf's head out of pure coincidence, so they can start talking about werewolf stuff a little later. Apparently, a symbol of the werewolf in these movies is a pentagram star. So as he's buying this cane and she's trying to shuffle him out, he's just like, "Oh yeah, I'll be here to pick you up at 8." And she's just like, "No, no, 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 no." So yeah, eventually he leaves. And any normal person would probably have been just like, "Hey, officer, could you just have someone posted outside my door at 8 o'clock, so that in case this guy comes sneaking around, because this is at all creepy. Just some stranger she's never seen before comes in and just like act like who's clearly been spying on her is just like make a whole thing out of it. Just yeah, horrendous. Thoughts on that? I don't know. This is this is awful.
I mean, it's definitely not like he doesn't look for like even 1941 standards. Like this is awfully creepy. I don't know what
Yeah.
else to say.
Yeah. After being super weird, he as on his way out, they see that some Romani people are coming into town. They don't use Romani; they use the old word that you're not supposed to use anymore. But yeah, they're coming into town to do like fortune telling, essentially. And that's he offers to go take her to the fortune teller at 8 tonight. Which yeah, don't like that one bit. Then we cut back to the Talbot Castle, where Sir John and Larry talk about the werewolf legend and all that. One thing that's super weird. One thing that's super weird about this, Claude Rains, who's playing Lon Chaney Jr.'s father, is a whole I don't know, what would you say, 14 inches shorter than Lon Chaney.
Sorry.
I don't know how much shorter do you think Claude Rains like like Claude Rains is to Lon Chaney. Like he is like Lon Chaney Jr. is significantly taller, and yet is playing the son. They also look like the same age.
Yeah, I don't know who Claude Janes was, so
Like the guy playing Larry's dad.
this guy is pretty tiny, I guess.
Yeah, or Lon Chaney's just that tall. Which I don't know. I didn't get the gist of that comparing them to other people. These actors are also looked to be like the same age. Let's see. Claude Rains is born 1889. Lon Chaney Jr. is born 1906. So yeah, there's 7 years age difference. Oh, and here's an important thing. Lon Chaney Jr. height 1.87 meters. I wonder if it'll tell me what Claude Rains' height is. 1.69 meters. So that's 10 centimeters difference. Yeah, this is a whole thing, and they have a conversation about like werewolf stuff, and like, oh yeah, I didn't know you were about any of these legends. And then yeah, that's that whole scene. He's just like, oh, you like the girl across the street, and like which okay, I'm not gonna let that like scour Sir John's character just yet, because he didn't see like the lead up to that whole thing. He didn't see his son being a massive creep, although that doesn't mean much right now. Later in the movie, when this character will go on to cover up Larry's murders. So yeah. So we cut to 8 o'clock that night. Larry goes to meet Gwen, who's the lady from the apartment from the antique store, is her name, Gwen, and then of course he wanders into the scene like a which would be cute if this were cute, and wasn't preceded by a massive scene about him just being like a massive creep, and he just like sneaks around a corner and like hides behind her back so she doesn't see her, so she doesn't see him, and then scares the crap out of her. And then she's like, oh yeah, well, I'll walk you to the fortune tellers. And she's like, oh well, hold on, Jenny, and calls her friend down because she probably shouldn't be alone with this man. Although you probably shouldn't be going anywhere with this man at all. Like honestly, that'd just be like, oh, we're gonna hide in here and call the cops. I mean, that wouldn't work because this guy's like the son of the count or baron, whatever the fuck's going on here. So the cops would absolutely just be like, oh yeah, why don't you go out with a nice knight's son? So that would just be horrific. But they don't know it's that serious yet because they don't recognize that, because Larry's been gone a long time. They don't know who he is. But yeah, they all three of them lock arms and go meet up with go to check out this fortune teller. Yeah, it's just really hard to get past all this with like the really creepy beginnings of this relationship. Also, something she could have said a long time ago, probably should have said a long time ago. She's also engaged to be married.
Yeah,
So
you'd think somebody would have brought this up at some point in time, especially her
yeah,
father, who's like he works for him.
yeah, or like okay, so very like I'm almost less concerned about that and more like concerned about like, okay, if someone weird is like hitting on you, why wouldn't you mention that you're engaged?
Or like
I mean,
wear a ring. Or
that
rings
too,
not a
but I
thing.
mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That could also be a thing, but yeah, it's just like super weird that like I mean maybe you just don't say anything because you're too scared of this guy, and that's fair. Because like this is the sort
Yeah,
of
and
guy that I'm encouraging her to call the cops on this guy, frankly. So
yeah, she just like it's a whole weird turn of like story wise at this point in time. Like
yeah, it's so distracting because like this is like I don't think you even need to be like really in tune to anything to be just like, yeah, this guy's being super creepy right now, and that's not okay. So yeah, the three of them go to this fortune teller. They notice that there's wolfsbane blooming nearby, which causes them to recite a poem about when it's the wolfsbane blooming season, werewolves come out. The full moon is not mentioned at all in this movie, actually, notably. It's just like the trigger is meant to be the wolfsbane being in bloom. I guess. So we meet the fortune teller, a character named Bella, who is played by Bela Lugosi from Dracula fame. So he's actually makes several appearances in like Wolfman movies, all as different characters. He'll also co-star with Lon Chaney Jr. several years later, playing Frankenstein's monster.
Oh,
So
that's
that's a
cool.
thing. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't turn out very well.
Wait, who plays who though in that point?
Oh, Lon Chaney is still playing Wolfman. Bella Lugosi puts on Frankenstein makeup.
You think like I don't know. I kind of really hate this guy's face. He has a dumb face, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair.
So like the fact that he's not being Frankenstein's monster, like who's notoriously like really supposed to be big and kind of dumb looking, like I don't see why he wasn't cast, but
I see your
that's
point.
just
Yeah.
my opinion. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Although they mostly keep Lon Chaney as the Wolfman roles. Like in all the Universal horror movies, like Lon Chaney Jr. is the only one to like stay in the same role. There's
Hmm.
other guys who play the Wolfmen in those in that time, but Lon Chaney is consistently playing the Wolfman.
Yeah, that's really weird.
I think part of that's just because like Bela Lugosi was 60 when he played Frankenstein's monster or something like that.
Yeah,
I think.
like, and it's not even like he's like being cast as Frankenstein. He's getting cast as Frankenstein's monster, and like, I mean, he's not like a really big guy or anything.
But yeah, that's a whole thing. So yeah, they Jenny goes to get her fortune read first, leaving Larry alone with Gwen. And alarm bells are blaring mentally. But yeah, I don't know. So this is where Gwen finally brings up that she's engaged and that they can't be doing a couple thing. And that doesn't stop Larry at all. That's not a good sign. Larry's a bit of a piece of shit. And that's before he starts killing people. Yeah, Bella starts reading Jenny's fortune and is just really disturbed by what he's seeing. And like slides his hair back, exposing a star-shaped scar that indicates to the audience that he is a werewolf, and that and then he sees that in this movie's universe, you can tell who's going to be your next victim by you can see a star in the palm of their hand, and a star appears in Jenny's hand. So Bella knows that he's going to um, kill this woman. And he just gets upset as she's just like starts asking questions of him, just being like, "Oh, can you tell me when I'm going to get married?" And he's just like, "Oh no, oh no, I'm going to kill this woman with such a long future." Which this brings me on to a thing. Like I was not expecting like this movie to do as much justice to the Romani people as it did. Like I think the Romani characters in this movie are like largely understandable and well represented, with like the possible caveat that like Bella, the woman who's traveling with Bella, Mileva, uh is possibly like covering up for Bella's murders, which is possible, but they seem to be pretty reasonable and helpful. I'm sort of willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. There's a bit later where like she offers where Mileva offers Larry a medallion that'll protect him from the werewolf curse, which presumably maybe Bella wasn't wearing at this moment. But yeah, I thought these characters were pretty well represented and they were shown with like a reasonable amount of respect. I don't know. Just
Actually,
because
it
I
is
know,
such a weird
yeah.
caveat that like later on in the movie that they don't exactly kind of acknowledge this. Like if this old Romani lady had like an amulet that could stop a werewolf's curse, like why wasn't Bella wear like the Bella Lugosi's character wearing it during the whole entire like
It could be his mistake though.
transformation?
Yeah. I mean that could be a thing. I don't know. It might also, I don't know. Yeah, there's not like a good explanation for that. I think there's like an entire prequel you could do with like Bella and Mileva. I think that would be like a pretty interesting prequel movie. Actually, I'm really interested in what's the deal with these two. Honestly,
You're talking about a prequel, which,
yeah.
to be honest, this thing probably doesn't deserve a prequel, but
No, yeah, true, totally fair. I'm just saying, like, I think those two characters have like way more potential than anyone in this movie. Like, I just think that's a more interesting story about these two traveling Romani people fighting the curse of a werewolf. I just think that's probably a better like story to listen to instead of like this one, which the only like good thing is like the true horror of this movie is like the ability of the British nobility to cover up crimes, which would probably be a decent premise for a movie, but it's just I don't think any of it's intentional, so I don't want to give them too much credit really.
yeah,
But anyway, after she's Bella starts acting all weird, and he's just like, "Leave, come back tomorrow. I can't tell you anything today. Get out of here now." He's trying to get away from her, and of course, like when like if you believe in psychics and like one of them starts freaking out in front of you, you're probably gonna want to run off. So Jenny goes to run off, but Larry and Gwen have wandered off. Yeah, they wandered off in the woods somewhere. Not something they probably should probably be happening. I'm very concerned about. I don't think Larry Talbot needs to turn into a monster in order for like turn into a werewolf for him to be some sort of monster. Like I'm not convinced that he's the best guy either way. But anyway, so yeah, she's running and she's like yelling, but they also hear like a wolf howl, and Bella has turned into a werewolf. Although Bella just turns into a regular wolf, he doesn't get. We don't get to see Bella Lugosi in like proper wolf makeup, which is sad, I guess. But yeah, so Bella's werewolf form goes after Jenny, jumps at her and kills Jenny. Larry hears the screaming and goes to chase after her, go to check out the situation, and sees the wolf and slams his silver-headed wolf cane, which which he happened to get earlier in the movie, into the wolf's head, eventually killing it through blunt force trauma. I don't know. Werewolf mythology has put a lot of emphasis into the silver bullets, but as far as this is concerned, as long as like you're killing it with something silver, you're good.
I
You're good.
mean,
Yeah,
I would
fair enough.
assume that's
Yeah,
generally
yeah. It's
like
not like a stake through the
copacetic
heart
and
thing. Yeah,
yeah, towards. But I mean, like, I guess it all depends on how you look into like the actual property of silver in terms of like what it's supposed to do to a werewolf type ordeal. Like, if it's, I don't know, I'm just harping on like um, old mythology at this point in time, which it probably isn't. Which brings me back to like my biggest issue I have with this movie, and that's the whole werewolf thing. Considering like Bela Lugosi turns into an actual wolf, and this guy, and I was outside and I was having a smoke earlier, and I was like, oh well, I'll bring this up, but I don't. My first thought was like, oh, maybe it has more to do with like this the psychological side of the whole werewolf mythology because later on it's shown at the end of the like the movie when Larry Talbot's character dies that the person who killed Larry Talbot also thought that he was only fighting a wolf, so like maybe the Wolfman whole like mythology is all in Larry's head at that point in time, and he's actually turned into a wolf, but he himself sees him as a wolfman instead. But I think I'm giving way too much thought into this, and it's probably
I mean, that is a reading of the movie I've heard. But yeah, it's just is this movie good enough to warrant it?
no. I think they just didn't want to pay for another Wolfman costume, to be
No,
honest.
yeah. I think I think they did it's actually I think it was I was listening to some behind the scenes stuff, and they do only make him put on the makeup once. Like they do shoot all these werewolf scenes at once.
Oh,
So
and I
that's
bet you it's really, really probably not the best working conditions for like any actor, especially considering like this is pretty early on in like special effects type ordeal or like showing transformations, and even if they
and
don't.
even at the best of times you end up with like I think I heard 3 hours to put on and 1 hour to take off, which seems like a lot, but that's I mean it seems normal nowadays.
Like 3 hours at that point in time is like a small amount of time for special effects nowadays. Like I think I was listening to like the guy who played Vicenna in the newest season of Stranger Things is taking them like 10 hours for them to sit there and do the makeup setup for his costume, and like a lot of that was special effects and like computer generated images. So I mean, like
Yeah.
that's no small dice.
But anyway, Larry and the Bella werewolf get into a skirmish. The Bella werewolf is killed in the skirmish, but Larry is bitten. And he is in quite bad shape as he wanders off. And Gwen and the elder Romani lady, Maleva, they help get. They go to take Larry home, and he's like in so much of a stupor he doesn't even get it. He only gets out like one sentence, even mentioning Jenny, and he's like by the time they get him home, where he's like gotten just conscious enough to be just like, go find Jenny, go check on Jenny. And of course he gets home. His father and another guy's there, and they go out to go search for what happened. Um, of course, what they find is okay, Jenny got her throat ripped out by a animal. Okay, that's obvious. That's pretty fair. But then they find Bela dead from blunt force trauma in human form. So that adds a little bit of weirdness to the story. So they go back and they talk to Larry in the morning after he's come to. And he's there. This is also just important to note. There's no blood in this movie, like at all. Like they don't even have like splatter anything red, or like I mean the movie's black and white, so it'd be. I mean you could splatter some sort of liquid on it, but yeah, there is no blood in this movie, and it is. I mean, fucking 1940s code cinema. God damn it. So yeah, it's really silly. The fights. A lot of people say the fight scenes in this movie are silly too. I don't mind them. I find them less egregious than something like Dracula and 31, where like they do everything off screen. Yeah, so they get to talk to him in the morning in front of the public officials, a psychologist, and also just a colonel, I guess. They have like a conversation about like they want to ask Larry some questions. Larry, of course, from his point of view, he killed a wolf that had just like wounded Jenny, but from the other point of view, from the point of view of everyone else, okay, Jenny clearly got killed by like some sort of wild animal, but then it appears that Larry had just beaten Bela over the head for whatever reason. So there's a lot of confusion there, but they do know that, like, okay, so it seems like Larry beat him over, killed Bela. And yeah, and they're of course perfectly willing to cover all this up. And like, as you realize very quickly that they're just going to like pretend like this didn't happen and like make up a whole bunch of stories. And honestly, there's probably like, okay, this is a wealthy to do uh member of society killing a member of a repressed ethnic group. So yeah, that's the thing that's happening here. Also, Larry doesn't have any scars, and not just within like, obviously, like he just hasn't been literally wounded, like within the logic of the movie. Not that we'd see the scars anyway. It's a bit difficult to tell, just because, yeah, again, we're not. There's no blood in this movie at all. So yeah, that's a whole thing. Larry goes to sneak up on the people who are placing Bela's body in the cemetery. Larry goes to take a look at Bela, notices like the gruesome blunt force wound we can't see because it's the 1940s, and also they probably just don't have great technology for that. And then this cuts out into Mileva talking to a priest who doesn't want Bela to get a traditional Romani funeral because he says it's pagan. Even though I did look it up because I was like, aren't Romani people Christian? And like, okay, it's not like a sect of Christianity, but they're a cultural group that is largely Christian. But there are like
Yeah.
yeah, they do like take on like religions based on like the region they are in often. Um the uh
Mhm.
the group traces its like roots to like India from way back when, but they are in the modern day. It's certain and that's certainly almost certainly true of the 1940s. Is a mostly Christian group that practices their religion with their own folklore mixed into it, like a lot of people do, but a lot of snooty British racists would probably take issue with those too. So yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I don't need to like they like the Romani people are represented well in this movie, I think. I mean, as like you could say some caveats, but I think the movie is more sympathetic to them. Like all you see is like people being like, I don't know what the like I'll say racist, but I don't know what like the proper term for like anti-Romani prejudices, but like people are just absolutely shitty to these people for like wanting to hold a funeral in like their particular ways and such. But there's going to be like a big Romani funeral either way because she can't stop it if they could. They're just going to come and pay their respects to Bela. We get as after the priest leaves, Mileva stands over Bela's coffin. It's just says some things about like, oh, it's okay, Bela, your suffering is over, which is a bit of a call forward to kind of like a lot of the this is very reminiscent of like a lot of the later movies where the I haven't seen a lot of them, but the motivation of Larry Talbot morphs into him like longing for his own death, so he doesn't have to like be a werewolf anymore. So that's kind of like that fits in with that. Yeah, that's a whole thing. And then Larry leaves. He's been sneaking around the whole time through that, like super creepy. Like a couple people see him walk in, which is really suspicious. So yeah, he's really acting strange to this movie. It's entirely justified for like as the movie goes on. A lot of people really think that like Larry is the like a big hole-on murderer, and that's totally understandable. He acts like a complete sociopath. He acts like a complete crazy person throughout this entire movie. He is just like an absolute weirdo and creep. But anyway, our next scene, Gwen and her dad having a bit of a conversation about what happened. And her dad goes out into the store, and a bunch of Karens wander in, to go mob interrogate Gwen into telling them what happened. Which, yeah, that's really rough. And they're like, "Whoa, why did he get left alone with the yeah, they use the word gypsy in that. They're just like, "Whoa, why'd you leave them alone with this shady minority?" I mean, yeah, it's yeah. But eventually they get chased off when Larry shows up, and it's just like, "Oh yeah, what did you want to say to her? I kind of want to see that too." And he chases them off by being a big scary man. So that's a whole
The
thing.
way that he's holding like this cane at this like in this scene, it looks like he's gonna beat these like group of little old ladies up with his cane, and I don't know why it was like super stupid to me, but like also like I feel like that Gwen's dad in this scene was like very pro Talbot, like almost
Yeah.
like he's like, please marry this rich lord instead of like the groundskeeper's son that you're like engaged to. So I don't know, it's just a weird scene.
That's also weird because like I think they say her fiance's title is like he's like the huntsmaster for Sir John. Like he's like Ward's like,
Gameskeeper.
yeah, gameskeeper. So he's not like a stupid position. I mean, okay, so stupid, but not in like the he's not low on the totem pole.
No. He definitely is. I think a gameskeeper is somebody who he's basically a lawnskeeper,
Okay, I
if I'm not
suppose.
mistaken. Like a gamekeeper is somebody who's like he who keeps like a groundskeeper essentially, except for a little bit of a more fancier title.
I got distracted because
So
it's a
I mean,
weird British thing.
which is
Because
also really weird because like he's shown uh like later on in the movie he's shown digging a grave.
no, that's a
So
different guy.
like I guess like if there was no, it's not.
No. Larry's at the end. Of, there, not Larry. What's the fiance's alive at the end of the movie? Frank.
Frank Alexander? I thought he was the one that was
Frank
murdered by
Andrews.
in the graveyard.
No, he's around at the end of the movie. They kill
Huh.
another character. I forget. It's just a one-off character. But no, he that's a different guy. But we'll get to that. So yeah, they Frank Larry goes to check on Gwen as her fiance Frank Andrews shows up. So yeah, that's a whole thing. Frank's dog barks a lot at Larry for whatever reason because he's a werewolf, I guess. Can smell it on him. But yeah, so yeah, that's a scene. Next we cut to the Romani have brought in an entire fair, they've started a fair in town while they come for this funeral or whatever. So that's a whole thing. And Larry, in his infinite wisdom, goes. Okay, this was another weird thing. The police never took his cane, even though it was like clearly a murder weapon or like an assault weapon, or like it was used in like used in like the death of a person. And the police just don't leave it, like don't take it for whatever reason. They return it to him. It's super weird. I guess I mean it goes along with like covering up this murder, but whatever. So Larry shows up to this fair with the cane that he used to murder Bella, the guy whose funeral that these guys are attending. Like just stomping around with the murder weapon after having apparently killed like their friend. It's
Because like ultimately it kind of comes down to like almost like the Romani take on this curse is like extremely like they almost don't seem to ostracize the guy for killing a werewolf, which is like
yeah,
completely understandable in some sense, but like
yeah,
yeah, this guy was like a decent member of the community for a really long time, but like he's still a werewolf, like right?
yeah. There's whole like that's the whole weird angle on the side of this too. I don't. Yeah. We don't get like a huge like explanation of the backstory unless it like happens in one of the later movies. Frank and Gwen see Larry wandering about the place, and they go to talk with him. Frank challenges Larry to like a shooting game that Larry does pretty good at until a wolf cutout pops up, and he kind of freezes and misses a shot. So, but after that, Larry leaves and is eventually like stopped by Mileva, who calls him into her tent and like tells him the whole deal that he is now a werewolf, and yeah, so they do the whole thing, and she gives him a pendant that she says will protect him from the werewolf curse. Immediately after this, on his as Larry goes to leave, the entire Romani fair packs up because the werewolf's going to happen. Incredibly suspicious, frankly, but yeah, that's probably not a great thing.
Also, like, doesn't that completely go against what just happened?
Yeah, I think could be.
Like, where they're like, I'm gonna give you this talisman that's gonna stop you from turning into a werewolf, and then they're like, oh, wait a second, what happens if this guy doesn't believe in a talisman and decides not to wear it? And then they pack up and leave, I guess. That kind of makes sense, but like,
Yeah, like what? Yeah, we better leave just in case this guy just randomly gives away his one
yeah,
lifeline to like the first woman he sees, which he promptly does. He meets Gwen on his way out after she gets separated from Frank for whatever reason, and he gives her the amulet, which does apparently jack shit. We don't see it used in the rest of the movie. It's not. Yeah, it doesn't end up being important. I don't know. But anyway, Larry goes home and starts tearing off his shirt looking for wounds, which he's just like doesn't see any, and he's just like, "Oh, phew," for a moment before he sits down and realizes that his legs we feel all weird, and he takes off his shoes and socks and reveals that his legs have grown slightly abnormally hairy. Like there are guys that like have this much leg hair. Let's face it.
yeah,
Yeah. And then it steadily gets more hair, and then it becomes suspicious when he grows like dog toes, and that's the first bit of the
sure.
werewolf transformation we see.
Wolfman transformation.
Yeah, wolfman transformation. So yeah, he goes out in the middle of the night, where he eventually finds a guy digging a grave and kills him.
Yeah, I looked into that. Apparently, yeah, that was just like a villager. That's what they said in.
He had a name, I forget what it was.
Well, they named him.
Yeah, his name was dropped, but yeah, they wake up the next day. A lot of the townsfolk are cut between blaming the Romani and also blaming Larry because they both kind of showed up the same day these murders started, and they've had like two murders right in a row. Larry wakes up and notices that he has a star on his chest where the wolf bit him, which is weird because it's like on like the square of his chest. It would have been a weird place for like the wolf to get a bite in.
But like Bela
Yeah.
Lugosi was bitten in the face.
Oh yeah, Bela Lugosi had his on his
Like
forehead too.
by
Yeah.
by the movie logic at this point in time, like it's a really dumb spot to be bitten by a wolf, I guess. And
I feel like
hindsight, like
yeah, I feel like you could get bit on the head because that's kind of like there's a bit of a curve there. A wolf could get like open up its head and like on there. The chest is just a weird region for it though.
yeah,
But anyway, him and his dad talk a bit more, and they go to attend the funeral for presumably Jenny's funeral. They go into the church, and Larry just sort of stalls at like the start of the pews going into the funeral chamber, where he stops because he is now an unholy being and is not welcome in the house of the Lord, I guess. And everyone stares at him, and then he leaves, very suspiciously. So there's some more discussions of like what's Sir John and a bunch of his colleagues are discussing what to do about the wolves. they're gonna go set up some traps, like big old timey bear traps for this wolf. Which, yeah, I suppose. So yeah, they do that. Larry talks to the psychologist, Dr. Lloyd, about his what's the deal with werewolves, and they say like, oh well, some guys like feel like they're animals, and it's just like really like a form of schizophrenia. One guy says, oh well, there's no. Larry asks if there's a cure for that, and the one guy's just like, oh well, there's a cure. Only way you can get that is in an asylum. And then Dr. Lloyd's just like, well, there's a cure for anything with the cooperation of the patient, which that's a decent attitude at least. But yeah, Larry goes to leave, and it's just Dr. Lloyd and Sir John in the room, and they're talking. Dr. Lloyd has been telling Larry to get some sleep this whole time, and trying to like confine him to quarters best he can. Dr. Lloyd says to Sir John, "You need to get him out of town before he hurts somebody. He's clearly very sick." And they're like, "Well, no, we're gonna help keep him healthy here." And he's like, well, okay, but you really got to do something. And it's just plain as day. These guys are covering up Larry's murders. I think there's definitely an interpretation in the movie where, like, oh yeah, this was just Larry being a murderer the whole time. There's no werewolf thing about it. But yeah, I think it's just different. The next night, Larry turns into a werewolf again and ends up getting caught in a bear trap. The hunting party hears it and starts chasing after him, but thankfully, Mileva stumbles upon him in her cart and goes to get him out. And she notes that the rainy ground turns him back to normal. A lot of this mythology is pulled out of their ass. There's not necessarily a lot of historical precedence to this. It all sounds very old timey, but a lot of it's made up whole cloth by the screenwriters. The hunting party eventually finds Larry after he's been turned back to normal, and they just let him go because, like, oh hi Larry, what were you doing out here? He's like, oh, same thing you're doing. I was looking for the werewolf, and they're like, okay, go home, have a nice day, sir, because he's a man of privilege and can do whatever he wants. And he uses that privilege to go up to Gwen's window, throw some rocks at it to get her attention. She lets him into her apartment because, or the like the shop because uh I guess these characters are in love now. So she says a whole thing about like, oh well, I'll go with you when you leave, because he's wanting to leave because he's hurting people. And of course he sees that she has the sign on her hands indicating that she's going to be his next victim. So he runs off, and I at this point I'm just shouting at the screen. Where he's just like, I'm gonna go out into the wilderness where no one can find me and I don't hurt anyone. And I'm just like, dude, turn yourself in. Like, get yourself locked into a cell for as long as you need to. You're a danger to yourself and others. You can't just do this in like your own merry way. Like, this is just the typical like privileged white guy thing of just like putting themselves into like little special cells where like they can heal without needing to go through like a prison cell, which is totally bullshit when anyone else does it. But if it's like a rich white guy doing it, then it's okay and you're allowed to do it.
But I mean, arguably, that's what, like, they didn't stop Bella's like werewolfism at all. And I mean, like, in theory, like, this only happens like once a year, correct? Like, maybe for a week, according to like alternative mythos that they set up around werewolves. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not like they don't state firmly that it only happens once a year, but it might be.
well, it's when the wolfsbanes bloom, so I'm just assuming that it's only once a year, like during spring or something. Like, but yeah, they just totally let Bela Lugosi run rampant because like nobody stopped them or anything.
And also that didn't work. So, but yeah, no, it's just nonsense. And they're totally just gonna like let him get away with this as much as possible, at the expense of everyone else's. Then he manages to get back home. His father offers to help him, his father ties him down to a chair with like big straps, and then Sir John takes up the cane with the big silver head, just in case. Sir John tells Dr. Lloyd everything that happened, like that's going on in like front of everybody, and no one like bats an eye. As like he's going to leave his son in the house alone while they search for the wolf or whatever. And after this, he meets Maleva, and they have a chat. We're just like, oh, what are you gonna do? You need to be together with him, or I don't know what they're trying to accomplish here. It's just like she's acting cryptic and he's acting weird too. I think there's meant to be like there's an obvious parallel between these two characters because Maleva seemed to have been like enabling Bella to some ability, and Sir John's doing that same thing. So there's clearly like a parallel going on here, but yeah, it's a whole weird thing. And as this conversation ends, gunshots start getting heard because because Larry broke out of his restraints easily, I guess. Gwen at this point is showing up on the scene, looking for Larry, because she loves him, I guess. So Gwen just refuses all help. She doesn't use the amulet at all during this scene. I don't see it. It's maybe on her, but yeah, it's so weird. But no one's willing to accept help from Maleva, even if she can offer it. So Gwen gets attacked by Larry as she sees him, and they end up scuffling. But eventually, Sir John stumbles upon the scene and starts getting into a brawl with Larry as the werewolf, and Sir John ends up coming out on top. They we get some more parallels of Bela and Larry about him dying and him finally finding peace. Yeah, this is a whole weird thing, and then we get to see Gwen reunite with Frank, and they're fine, I guess. And then Dr. Lloyd shows up on the scene, and he's just like, "Oh, gee, it looks like Larry stumbled upon the scene and managed to fight off the wolf as it attacked Gwen, and then heroically died in the struggle. Oh no! However, that was such a noble end to such a noble man." And that's the end of the movie. Fucking nerve of these guys, like absolutely just like making up bullshit to save this guy. Fuck.
Like that this is like just I don't know, like the werewolf mythos is like made up by like this at this point in time, and like they're just like we want to make a werewolf movie, but we're just gonna ignore absolutely everything ever written about a werewolf so that we can like potentially do it. Or
Yeah, I don't know that that's like firm at this point in history as far as like the public consciousness is. I know a bunch of this is made up whole cloth for the movie.
okay,
Yeah.
so it's just garbly goop, like essentially being fucking thrown at you every second for the purpose of I would say telling a story, but it's like not even like a really great story at that point in time because they just write their way out of so many like bullshit like plot holes that just could have like solved all their issues at that point in time. Like it's just like these characters are like making their own bed as they go along because they basically Sir John doesn't want to wear jewelry, I guess. Like that was his
I
whole.
guess. Yeah, he just totally throws away that lifeline. So
But
weird.
like arguably, I mean, like it might have like arose so many questions, but like I think if like the pentagram gets such a bad rep in like early like Christianity because of like the weird Satanism connection, which isn't actually like a thing, I don't believe. Like I don't think the pentagram actually stands for Satan at all,
No.
does it not?
No,
So like
no. I mean, I think the pentagram can,
I'm pretty sure
but it's just, yeah,
that's a
again, it's stuff that's made up. Yeah.
like what people notoriously like depict as a pentagram. It's like the 5 star of like David, if I'm not mistaken, or something. Like it's just so like early 1940s like Christian panicky that like I can
Yeah.
kind of see it working. Like so yeah, like I don't really know what to call this movie except for like a giant waste of time. And like I feel like not enough movies came out between the time of 1940 and 1949 to really have picked a better one.
Yeah. I mean, I do think I have one more I want to do. I think that's maybe, actually, I don't know when that's from. I'm not gonna say it. Um, but yeah, no, I think the primary reading of this movie is just like, yeah, this is about a bunch of rich guys covering up this dumb rich kid's murders. Like, I think that's just like an obvious thing. But yeah, I don't know. What do you give the movie, Cody? I think we've talked a lot about it. That's like, what do you make of it? I don't know.
I don't know. I can't even remember what I gave Dracula, but I'm assuming it wasn't super
No,
high or
I
anything.
believe it was low. Yeah.
Like maybe a 2 because it was kind of a movie.
Yeah, I'm kind of on like the. See, I briefly toyed with the idea of giving it a higher score, just because, like, okay, well, you could read this as a movie where it's like very critiquing the rich and powerful, but I don't know, it feels so unintentional. Like, I'm so willing to like chalk this up to just coincidence. I'm gonna give it a 4. I'm giving it a 4 because you could view it in that light and get like a decent experience. But like, I think you need to really view this as like that. You need to like go into it viewing it as like a critique of like the rich and powerful. I think that's the only way this movie makes any sense. Because if you view it as just like, oh, it's going to be some kooky 40s horror movie, if you go into it with the same attitude you take when you go into watching like the Universal Dracula or Frankenstein, you're going to have a very different time of it. But that's where I'm at with it.
Apparently, like in the 1940s, really did have actually some like really good early animation movies, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's
Everything
also
else
like
is
a lot of the war stuff's going on, right? And so there's some stuff that's not happening. But yeah, see you guys later this month. I still have a bunch of the zombie things to come out yet. Yeah, that's just a matter of like I got sick and then Curtis got sick, so we didn't get them done in time. Sorry about that, but we're working on it. But yeah, to see you guys later.